Welcome to GLP-1 Journey in Review. I'm Lori and I've lost 63 pounds on my weight loss journey. I am not a healthcare provider. My guest is not a healthcare provider. This is not medical advice. It is just what works for us. If you are planning on a weight loss journey, I strongly urge you to reach out to your healthcare provider. So, all that being said, we're ready to roll. If you happen to find this information useful or entertaining, please hit that like button and that subscribe button. It really does help. Today we have with us Ash, who has lost a ton of weight and also has some fantastic YouTube channels. So they will be linked down in the description. So Ash, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Ash, and I have two YouTube channels. Originally, I had the channel that was just my name, Ash Silver, and then about 3 years ago, I started another channel called Coffee and Cults, and that's my main channel now. So I talk about all sorts of things over there, mostly celebrity stuff and cults and drama and fraud and everything like that, some like businessy stuff too. And about 4 years ago, maybe five, no, yeah, around the pandemic, I started my YouTube channel when I lost 100 pounds. I said like I would start it at 100 pounds, and then over the course of the years having the channel, I've lost probably about another 200. So it's pretty close to 300 altogether.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
When did you start this?
Probably, I mean, I started losing weight just like with diet in, I think it was around summer 2019, and then I lost about 100 the first 6, 7 months just with like diet. And then I was like slowly losing over 2.5 years. I had a bit of like a plateau for probably a year. And then I'm like really bad with time. It all like merges into one. In ooh, spring, probably last year, I started taking Wegovy, and I was still like losing a bit of weight, but it just really gave me like another sort of kick to be able to continue and stuff. And with like Wegovy, I've probably lost like another 60, 65. And I mean, everybody always says, I mean, a lot of people now I think, oh, you just do this injection and then like boom, like that, it happens. I'm like, yeah, that would be amazing. But it's a tool, and having done weight loss by myself without it, I do think that it is an amazing help, and it does definitely make it easier, not easy, but I
Mhm.
do think that it really helps. And to me, even if I never lost like another pound, I honestly would still take it just for the mental effect of like
Absolutely.
not thinking about it and like having like that food noise. So I think that it's even people that I know like in my real life, it has done like amazing things for so many people. And they're really, apart from a little bit of nausea, I really don't know anyone who's had any sort of reaction or any sort of side effects
Mhm.
to it. I'm very lucky, like I've not had any at all.
Yeah, me neither. I'm lucky in that sense too. So why Wegovy versus tirzepatide or Mounjaro?
So when I started it, because of where I am on the Isle of Man at the moment, that it was really like the only thing that was they did actually have Ozempic as well, but I because that's more like used for diabetics and
Right.
stuff, we didn't really have any sort of shortage or issue with Wegovy or Ozempic. But because now Manjaro is, that seems to be like the much more popular thing. I know there
Mhm.
was a study that came out probably about 2 months ago that said Manjaro was the most effective. And because I've been on it for about a year, Wegovy, the pharmacist prescriber who does mine for me, he's like a good friend of mine, and I was talking to him like about a week ago when I was getting my new pen, and he was saying like, oh, maybe we should switch you to Manjaro since you've been in it for a while and stuff. So I think I'm gonna use this last pen, and then I probably will switch to Manjaro just to see, because he was saying, you know, it seems to be a bit more effective, and it, things like costs and stuff too. So I might as well see if it's a little bit more
Yeah.
effective, then why not?
I know I swear by the stuff. My wife actually started on Ozempic and couldn't handle the side effects and
Oh.
stopped. And then when she saw me taking the tirzepatide, which I use a compound, she decided to try the Mounjaro because she's type 2 diabetic, so she gets a
Oh,
brand
okay.
name. So when she saw that, that's what made her switch, and she says an incredible difference between the two.
Oh,
So,
that's so interesting, because I have a friend, you actually know them, I'll tell you after, and they for ages were, 'cause they obviously they, were talking to me about it, and I was saying, "Oh, yeah, 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 like, you should go for it if you really want to and stuff," and they ended up getting a prescription, but where they live, they, like, could not get a hold of Wegovy for months, and it was really difficult. And then she finally got it, and she has like very bad acid reflux. And so
mhm,
she ended up having like bad acid reflux. And and so she stopped after like a couple of weeks. And I had said to her the other day, I was like, oh, you know what? I don't know very many people that have done this, but I would think if you tried, just like my own medical knowledge, I was saying, you should try one of like the other ones, try Manjaro. So she was going to do that. So I'm going to tell her that that was a good
uh,
difference for your wife.
it did wonders. She's a little bit slower at losing it than me because one, she's type 2 diabetic, and they tend to be slower, and she's got COPD, so she can't
Oh,
exercise as
okay.
much. So
Gotcha,
yeah, it
gotcha.
is what it is, and she's working towards it. So
Yeah,
that's what counts.
working is working.
So how much weight in total have you lost?
I think it is just it's very close to 300. I think it's about 290.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so
I mean, I've seen pictures, but otherwise I would never be able to imagine uh, knowing you over the last few years, seeing you on YouTube. But it's amazing.
nice.
So what was your aha moment that actually got you started into your weight loss journey?
I mean, I never really had like any sort of weight problem when I was younger, because I was like very, very active as a kid and teen. Like I rode horses, and my mum was like majorly into horses, and I like played sports in school and stuff. And even in my 20s, I like put on a bit of weight, but then I lost it and stuff. And I put on the vast majority of my weight like all at once when I moved from Tampa to New Jersey, and it was just like that was like a bad period in my life, and it was a lot of like the environment too. Like I didn't know a lot of people, and I was working like a very stressful job with like, weird shifts and all of this stuff, and it was just not good. So I ended up coming back to the Isle of Man, and I'd gone with my sisters and my brother and my dad, and my oldest nephew was the only one born at the time. And we went to Disney and like Universal for Christmas. And I was really struggling like to go around the parks and like go on some of the rides and stuff. And so I was feeling bad then. And obviously, when like I was so heavy that you don't feel good like anytime. And I came when I literally probably like a couple of months before I started my channel, I had gone to England where my sister and my nephews live, and I had got tickets to go to Disney on Ice. And
Mhm.
we had like in the like, parking isn't that great too, so you just have to park really far away. And I was so heavy at that time that like anywhere you would go, you have to think like, where am I parking? Because I need to walk, or can I, if I'm going into a restaurant, like I need to ask for a table because I can't like fit in a booth or get up on like those like a cocktail sort
Hmm.
of bar stool. And so I knew that where we were going to have to park was really far away, but we ended up having to park like even further. And it about halfway to get to where the stadium was, or like place they were, the ice rink place. I ended up having to like say, oh, use go in because we're going to be late, because I literally just like could not continue walking. I had to sit on this bench for a while, and that was just like so off because I really wanted to go with my nephews and stuff like that. And then when I eventually did get there, it was one of those things where like you couldn't go in after the start time. And
Hmm.
so I just like felt horrendous, and I was just like, okay, you seriously need to do something. And it was more like my nephews and stuff like that, because they were still like, I mean, they're still very young now, but I was like, I want to be able to do stuff with them and go to
Right.
Disney and Universal and all this. So yeah, that was really the thing that, I mean, there's lots of other like little moments, but that's like the one that was like the main one that sticks out.
I can imagine, because I know losing 60 some pounds, I feel so much better, and you have to be feeling so much better.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just like it kind of when you're that heavy, it really does like consume your life, because you just always are having to think about it. And even now, I one of my friends that she like works for me a bit in the medical business and a bit in YouTube, and she always says to me now, she's like, you in your head like still think you're so heavy, because she's always saying like, my clothes and stuff are too big. And I still do think that way in my head sometimes, like when I park,
Mhm.
especially in the UK, like the spaces are very tight. And sometimes I'll park and I'll be like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get the door open or something. And the door, like two of me can fit through the door, but I still think that way in my head.
Yeah, the mind takes a while to catch up to the body. That's something we all have to work on it with losing weight. It's
Definitely.
so on the Isle of Man, how available is the medication?
It's very different here, the medical system. I was telling another friend of mine in Tampa about it, because he actually has a trach, and he's wanting to lose weight and stuff, and we were just talking about kind of how the medical system here works differently to there, because he had like a lot of health problems that ended up resulting in the trach. And the whole here obviously
Yeah.
with the government and everything and socialized medicine and stuff. And I was saying to him, whereas in the US, it's more, you can go into pretty much any doctor, and a lot of the time you can get a prescription for this, and it's on the TV telling you, ask about this, ask about that. But here it's more, you can it's harder to physically get the piece of paper prescription, whereas like the pharmacies and stuff, it's crazy, like crazy stock. You would very I can't even think of any time, through like clinics, we're seeing so many patients. I would never even think of a patient having a stock issue at a pharmacy. Like maybe there might be an odd occasion something's out at one, but the one around the corner would have it.
Mm.
It's more here, because people here are used to, you need something, you go to your primary care, and like I walk literally 10 steps and I'm at mine. And things like if I want my refills or something, you just tick a thing online, and
Wow.
it's done. It's more stuff like Wegovy and things that doesn't fall under the national health, that so like I have to go to a private doctor to get Wegovy or something, or a lot of the pharmacy prescribers do it. It's not I wouldn't be able to get it from like the national health yet because it's only approved for like diabetics that way.
Right.
But I do think they're going to bring it in because the whole thing too is because it is something that the government is obviously funding the health service. They want people to have to use it as little as possible. So I'm sure that the
Right.
regulations will be, oh, we actually do put this on the national health. People aren't going to have so many health conditions. They're going to lose weight. It will wind up saving them money in the end.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised within a year or two that it would be able to come through the national health.
We're having the opposite problem here because they say in the United States, the average person changes healthcare every 2 to 3 years. So if, for example, I'm on United Healthcare, uh, they figured they're not going to see the benefits of me taking the medication because I'll, for example, be on
Okay.
Blue Cross. So why should they pay for it? Not thinking that the Blue Cross is now paying for somebody that eventually will be on there. But
Yeah.
it's, I guess that's one advantage of your your healthcare system there. But
Yeah, it is very much, especially things like I just had to, if you move catchment areas, you have to move doctor and things like, if I've been on say the same medications for years, they would never in a million years if like I was saying before, I just tick a box online and say, "Hey, I need my prescription." And I tick the box and I know in 2 days I can walk into the pharmacy
mhm,
and the medication will be there ready for me because they would never dream of having to have me come in and have an appointment because
mhm,
that's what there's so many other people that need appointments and stuff. They do like a
right.
yearly check, and obviously, if I wake up in the morning and I have something seriously wrong with me or I need antibiotics, you'll like call in the morning at 8 and say, "Hey, I need an urgent appointment," and they'll get you in that day. But they do, and there's nurses and stuff that you can see as well. And but in general, they do try and there isn't unnecessary appointments because they make money from it. Whereas when I worked in the healthcare industry in the US, a lot of the time you would see, oh, well, just bring them in for an appointment because it would be like, oh, but here they'll be like, oh, well, if we have to do a little bit more paperwork, that's okay because we're not going to have to make the patient come in. And especially with older people too, and like they're having to travel and stuff, they will, and they do like house calls and stuff for older people as well if they
Oh,
need
that's
it.
great.
Yeah, it
Not like in America.
I mean there's always like ups and downs to it, but in general as someone who lived like my whole adult life in the US and then has been here for a few years, I I think that it's necessary to have like companies like mine that are private and that, if you, because a lot of people now here through work will have private insurance and,
Mhm,
you have something cosmetic like a skin thing that you want to go and be seen tomorrow or in 2 days, you can go if you either want to pay or you have good health insurance. But at the end of the day, I know my immediate needs or if I get sick and need antibiotics, or if, God forbid, something serious happened, that I can go around the corner. And if I need a scan or something like that, I'm not going to go into medical debt like for any of that.
so what does Wegovy go for in Isle of Man approximately?
Yeah, I was talking actually to some people about this too because I do think it's a lot cheaper here. So usually you don't get charged for like the appointments or anything, especially if you go through the pharmacies, like that's all free. Usually I'm now on the 2.4 milligrams. So in dollars, it's probably about $200. But then, the lower amounts, I think the lowest amount, the point 0.5, is about $100 for
Mhm.
a month for 4 weeks.
And in the United States is about 1,200 for cash paying. Now they do have a direct, like Eli Lilly Direct and Novo Nordisk has their own that's about 499. but that's still kind of high compared to other countries.
Wow, yeah.
And and I know that there's a lot of advocating for better pricing, which is one thing that I do. So Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, if you're listening, lower your prices, please.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, people here, any medication, if you say you have 10 medications that you get every month, it doesn't matter. You will always pay the same price, which is in dollars, probably about $5 for all of them. And
Mhm.
when you need, like, I have to get my ADHD meds private. And anytime, like in the beginning, when I was I have like a good relationship, like, and sometimes we work in the pharmacy that I use. And anytime, sometimes when I'm checking out, they're like, oh, it's private. No, you have to pay. And oh, this is terrible. And it's literally $50 for like the whole month. And I'm like, listen, this is nothing compared to what the US is. So don't even worry about it. It's
So you mentioned that they were advertising there. What do you think about the pharmaceutical pharmaceutical companies advertising to the public?
I that was one thing because I was 16 when I moved to the US. So like I was aware of like how things were done, but I hadn't worked in the healthcare industry yet, and to me, I do think it's the advertising on TV is still quite wild, but that's one thing that if you talk to British people or Irish people that they go on vacation, that's one of the things that they always comment on. They're like, and there was drugs being advertised on TV.
It kind of puts the doctors in a bad situation because if a patient comes in and asks for it, it's like, what are they going to do? Is, if they don't give it to them, they take the chance of being sued. If they give it to them, but then again, in America, we have a habit of treating symptoms rather than the actual cause, which
Yeah,
I think the GLP-1 medication actually kind of takes care of both.
yeah,
And
definitely.
so, what does your average day of food look like?
I have tried to get into, especially with in the beginning when I was losing weight, like without the medication, I tried to just get into the thing of doing what works for me because,
Right,
you know, especially when like a lot of people they're starting to lose weight, they'll be like, "Oh, I have to, eat all these vegetables and fruits and I need to do this and blah blah blah." Blah. And I always just try and make my calories work. Like if there are some days that I'm like, "Oh, I really wanna eat like a piece of pizza or something," I make it work in my calories, and if I'm don't wanna eat, like I very, very, very rarely would eat something like lunch or something because I don't normally wanna eat in the middle of the day. So I would rather have, something more substantial at night. So I just try and balance it out the best I can with, like,
right,
calories and stuff, and even sometimes there's, certain things that I like one like, weird thing that I just really like milk, so sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, well, I'm not gonna have lunch or something," and then, "Oh, I could have some milk at night," and stuff, and just weird things like that that I don't feel the need to, have this cookie cutter, oh, ticking all
right,
these boxes. And especially in the beginning, I really found tracking calories was like the big thing because everybody has such a skewed version of portions and how many
right.
calories is in this. And yeah, I really think that you can't, especially in the beginning when you're starting, lose weight without
Mhm.
having tracking and stuff like that,
Right.
and it's just
Did you
you kind of
did you do measurements also, or just tracking weight and
I
food?
do have a food scale. Because I've been losing weight for so long now, and because of my ADHD too, I eat, like, the same things over and over again for quite a long time, and then I sometimes I'll after 6 months I'll change it and stuff. So I do really have like, a certain there's probably like 8 things that I eat
Right.
the same thing. So I know now after so long, like, oh, this is how much is in this and stuff. So I do get used to it. But yeah, the food scale is a big thing because yeah, it's a faff and it's a pain. And in the beginning I was like, oh, so I really have to do this, but it does help so much.
Do you track your protein also?
Not really that much, but sometimes I'll like do it in the little I think it's Loser app that I use, that one.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Do you work out or exercise or?
In the beginning, I really didn't. Now I do like walk, and I more like to swim, but at the moment it's been very hectic work-wise. So I do want to get back to that because I do really like swimming and stuff, but um yeah, it's
Do you feel like you've lost any muscle with this weight loss?
Not re I've always been I mean, I don't know whether it's just, like, the way my life is or something, or because I was so heavy that I did have a lot of muscle, like, moving around that so much weight, but probably a little bit, but I I don't, like, overly notice anything and stuff, and I do, like, certain things, like rollerblading and stuff like that, that I think it keeps it a bit more topped up. But nobody's I'm
Uh-oh.
very far from perfect.
Derby, look out! Here comes Ash Silver, huh?
So I definitely need to be better about the protein and working out. Yeah, those are my improved
So,
areas to improve.
so how have your friends and family reacted to this 300-pound weight loss?
Everybody has been like very, very positive, and I even before there's like a store like really close to my house that I'm in there all the time. And even when I was in there this morning, one of the women that works in there, she was whenever I walked in, she's like, "Oh, I've wanted to say something to you for ages, but last time I said something to someone, like they took it the wrong way." And I was like, "Oh God, what's she gonna say to me?" And she's like, "I just wanted to say like how good you look because I can see you've lost so much weight and stuff." And I was like, "Oh no, that's so nice." But I definitely like have had nothing but good reactions. I
Awesome.
think I think that some people they are a little bit about the Wegovy and stuff like that. I know that some people, I see online some people being very kind of like ignorant about it and just be like, "Oh, well, why can't they just do it themselves?" Or "Why do they need
Right.
this and stuff?" And I'm someone that's very especially doing YouTube and stuff, I'm like, I take Wegovy, like I have Botox in my face. I think that if everybody was a bit more open about those things, because it just even things like putting filters on pictures and stuff, I if I do that I always try and include it. And I think that that sort of attitude, like it only is gonna make people be secretive and not want to share and stuff,
Right.
because really like I it does like annoy me a little bit when I hear people saying so, or even like see people saying that online.
Right. You have people like just recently, they were saying Howard Stern was saying that, he lost his edge at being skinny because, he used to like going in and having people fat because that was his edge as being skinny, and we're taking it away from him. And then you have like Joe Rogan, who's saying that, it's cheating. They're taking the easy way out,
Oh, yeah,
just
yeah.
eat less, exercise more.
But it's you can say that about so many things. It's like, well, yeah, can you lower your blood pressure with, diet and
Right.
exercise and all of these things? Yes, but like if someone's blood pressure's high and they take medication, is that cheating?
Right. And they're not going to tell them to stop just because, okay, now your blood pressure is okay. It's like you have to do something to make it, okay from then on out. But um,
Yeah.
And then on the opposite end, there's a lot of celebrities like Rosie O'Donnell that are advocating for it, which is really great. And, making awareness, Oprah Winfrey and Whoopi Goldberg are, all admitting that they're on it and trying to put it
Yeah,
in a more positive light. I
yeah.
personally think that if you're an influencer on TikTok, especially if you're pushing GLP-1 medications or talking about it, you should disclose whether you're on it or not.
Yeah, I have I don't really like go on TikTok much at all, but I do watch a podcast, Do We Know Them? And they talk they do their show twice a week, and a lot of the time they're going over, the latest sort of influencer drama stuff, and they talk about things that are going viral on TikTok and stories and stuff. And I know probably in the last 2 months, 3 months, they've had at least one story where there was an influencer who had some sort of paid for exercise program or
Hmm.
something like that.
Right.
And over like a year, she'd lost a lot of weight, and she was on like Wegovy and literally hadn't disclosed it. And then when she came out with it, of course, people were it's
Yeah,
insane
they're
to me.
paying for the exercise programs and stuff. They're thinking that's what's doing it. It's insane.
And it wasn't cheap either. It was something like $200 or something, the
Wow,
course.
absolutely. So when you first started this journey and you had all that weight to lose, like, did I know you were planning on eating right. Did you consider bariatric surgery or were GLP-1s around at that time or?
The GLP ones weren't really a thing. Like I don't remember them even being
Hmm.
discussed or anything like that. It because it was it. If I knew about it, I definitely would have. And obviously, like I'm in the medical world, that
Hmm.
I would have. So I think before I went on it, it was probably about 6 months before I actually went on it. So they really hadn't been, talked about that much. And I mean, I in probably 2015, I had a gastric band, and they
Okay.
don't really do the bands anymore because they are just very kind of not old fashioned, but they have a lot, not issues, but you really have to, if you have it, it's like I obviously, like it's still in my body.
Hmm.
It's like a plastic thing. It's like, when a kid goes in a swimming pool, they have like a rubber ring
Right.
floaty thing. It's like that. So when it's deflated, it's really not doing much. So you have to get it filled with saline. There's like a little port just under your rib, and you just insert a needle and fill it. And it was something that when I had it, I definitely hadn't done like the m- work, like mentally, that you
Hmm.
have to. And I didn't get it filled because I literally moved from I was here like temporarily for like a year, and then I went to New Jersey. And so because the person who did it, they're not going to want to touch it in New Jersey. And there was a period, probably about a year before, well, I'm trying to remember the timeline. Whenever I was losing the first 100 pounds, I did get some saline put in it, and it does help with the sort of thing like binging and stuff. And when it's full, you can't eat things like bread and stuff like
Hmm.
that. I mean, you can sit and eat ice cream and like all that stuff goes down fine. And you can also like graze throughout the day. It stops you eating a lot of food at once. But I don't have it. And if like GLP and ones and stuff are around, I don't think that I would need anything like that, because I think that the GLP ones are so much more effective and
Oh,
obviously like less
yes.
invasive, all that stuff. And I now, because it's like deflated, it's just kind of there and it doesn't really restrict me in any way. The only thing is bread and stuff like that. I can't really eat that well, so it's kind of a good thing. But it does have one very, especially when it's tight, you can get this thing. It's basically where if you don't chew like properly, but sometimes it can just happen. If when I don't know, I'm getting a bit of feedback there. If when say why is it doing that? Sorry, I think there's like a little bit of feedback happening on my side. I don't want you to have. It's weird. I don't know why it's doing that. So if you're eating something and like you swallow, like the food can just rotate in a weird position, or
Mhm.
if you don't chew properly, and it basically can become like stuck, and your body will think that you're choking. So it starts like producing like a lot of saliva and stuff, and it is the worst pain that you will ever experience. It's horrible, and it lasts for hours and hours and hours until
Wow.
your muscles can like squeeze it through. And because I don't get it filled, it doesn't, and obviously after a while, like, you learn your lesson, and I never really had issues, but very, very, very occasionally something will happen like that. And I probably haven't had it happen in well over a year, because I don't think I've had it filled in like close to 2 years. But
Mm.
probably about 4 days ago, I just like I must have just swallowed something the wrong way, and for a couple of hours, it was just like, oh God. And it made me keep thinking, I'm like, I'm so glad that now the GLP-1s and I don't have to have
Mm.
this band.
Absolutely. I think the GLP-1s are going to put a lot of bariatric surgeons out of business unless they jump on the bandwagon and go that route.
Yeah.
It's,
I mean,
is
they
this
have
something that, go ahead. Is that ban something they could take out if you're having problems, or is it?
Yeah, I actually know the a friend of mine who she's a nurse. She actually, because on the Isle of Man, like they don't there isn't like surgeons or anything like that. And she would fill my band for me like a few years ago. She doesn't live here
Mhm.
anymore, but she had a band herself, and then it wasn't really like working for her, so she ended up getting it removed, and then she got a gastric bypass, and then I think she got that just before COVID, and then she put like most of the weight back on, so now she's on GLP-1 too, and has lost so much weight. And whenever she went to get the gastric bypass, she got the band removed. And I know a couple of other people who like the woman who does my nails, she had a band too, and she actually went to get it removed, but she has Crohn's, and so when they obviously could
Mm.
remove it, but she had some damage, so they couldn't end up doing the gastric bypass because of that. But I think that the band, like, it just does not really exist anymore. And they used to do there was a type of balloon that you could swallow
Mhm.
that, it was very, you just swallowed it, and then I think it was like 3 months later they take it out with an X-ray, and that it's not very effective, but it's something. And now they do the bypass, the duodenal switch, and the gastric sleeve seems to be like the trendy thing at the moment. But it's the same thing that I tell a lot of patients this, that the GLP-1, it it's not just like affecting you like
Mhm.
hunger and all that wise, it is helping you mentally. And I think that there's a lot of people, and on all those shows like My 600 Pound Life and stuff, I think there's a lot of patients who get the surgeries and they haven't changed things mentally. So they if they do get the surgery, they might have a year where, especially with the bypass and the duodenal switch, they get like a artificial metabolism boost for a year, but
Hmm.
after that, it goes away. So you'll see people, and I think that the success rate is very low for any of the gastric surgeries. So you might lose all the weight for a year or two, but then you slowly stretch your stomach back out. But there absolutely are success stories. There's a guy on YouTube that I watch that I really like. He covers my 600-pound life. His name's Sean of Steel, and he was over like 600 pounds, and
Wow.
he looks great and has lost so much weight. And I know it's been at least 2 years, I think, since his surgery. So he's still, and he says, oh, I still follow like all the rules and diets. But I also think there's a lot of people, if you watch like my 600-pound life, who they can never get to that sort of requirement of doing the liver shrinking diet and losing 50, 60
Hmm.
pounds, whatever the requirement is. And so I just think that the GLP-1, yeah, okay, it's not going to be right for every single person, but I do just think that it is like the leaps above everything
Absolutely.
else.
You combine the gastric surgeries with the GLP-1s, and yeah, like almost everybody should be able to lose weight, provided you change your lifestyle somewhat. And I think it's a great combination. It's a great tool. Yeah, I just wish more people would do it and start it sooner. Stop listening to all the rumors,
Yeah.
and to just be prepared and just take the shot.
Yeah.
And now they're going to be coming out with pills
Yeah. I mean,
next year.
they have the pills here. They prescribe it to a lot of people who have side effects with the injections.
Hmm.
And from the experience that I've seen with patients, the pills are not quite as effective as the
Hmm.
shots. Maybe these are going to be new ones, but
Yeah,
I
they're new ones.
do think that there is a lot of that, like people, because when you see people talking online about, oh well, I heard this, or this is the easy way, or this or that, I find that a lot of the people saying stuff like that are people that have no experience with it, like,
Right.
or have no medical knowledge or something. They've heard something, through the grapevines or something. And that's why I think that it's really good that you're doing this channel, that it's
Right.
someone that's actually doing it, and talking about your experience and like other
Right.
people and stuff. Because I just I've seen hundreds of people, like I've had so many patients come to us and go, and it has been absolutely life changing for so many people, that
Absolutely.
I think the biggest hurdle with it literally is side, because it is expensive, and some people don't have that, especially in the US, where it is so much more expensive. That
Right.
I think that is one of the things
And
that.
the orforglipron, which is coming out next year, is a pill, and you could either have it with food or without food. Doesn't need refrigeration, and right now they're saying it'll probably be in the United States somewhere around 100, for a month, which
Oh,
is pretty doable. I mean,
mhm.
not as cheap as we want it, but you know, and I think that will also bring the other prices down. And they say it's almost as effective, but for somebody like me who's on maintenance, I think I would rather take a pill every day.
Yeah.
But not that the shot bothers me, but it's just, I mean, I'm a baby boomer. We go to the doctor, something's wrong here, have a pill. That's how we were taught growing up. It's whatever you say, doctor.
Yeah, I know some people, the shot too, and I'm always like, oh my god, it's literally like nothing. Like it is. To me, like stuff like that doesn't bother me. But even people that I've been like, oh, I'll help you do your first one or something, or people that come to the clinic, I'll say, oh well, come and do your first one, and we'll show you how to do it and stuff. And so many people are always like, oh, that was it, and I'm like, yeah, right, you didn't even feel it.
Yeah, I'll admit I had a bit of a fear when I first started because years ago the migraine medication, Imitrex, used to be in a
Oh,
syringe,
yeah, yeah,
and it
yeah.
was in a like a gun thing, and like I was a little nervous because I do IVs all day long, but doing something to myself,
Yeah,
and then
different.
like okay, I'm gonna do it, and I hit the trigger and nothing happened. It misfired. I'm like, oh crap, I got to go through this again. So, that kind of stuck in my mind with the first time that I did it. And then I'm like, this is it? This is nothing.
You know what's so funny though? Our pens are slightly different here. So one
Yes.
of my friends in the US, he because I was just like, oh, let me see yours to see the difference. And when he showed it to me, the box was like your big ones with the 4 pens. And at first I was like, oh my God, typical America, they're giving like 4 months worth of a dose. He was like, oh no, it's just a dose in the
Single dose,
pen.
not the quick
Whereas
pen.
yeah, ours like is just I just have a pen and then you turn the dial and the month is just in the one pen. So you just turn the
Right.
dial and it stops automatically at the thing. But in the beginning, I remember when there wasn't like shortages or anything, but I think the first time, yeah, whenever I started on point 0.5, my friend who has the pharmacy, he was like, oh well, I'll do the prescription for one because it'll be cheaper and just turn the dial halfway and then you basically get 2 months for one. So that's a way a lot of people have done it too, because obviously it
Right.
is a lot cheaper.
But I don't know how it is with Wegovy, but I know in the UK with the Monjaro, they have what's called the golden dose,
Yeah,
which is kind
yeah.
of like that extra dose that they recommend you not take, but everybody's taking it.
The other week, I don't know, I think it was before I went back to Tampa at the end of May. So I think this was probably about 6 or 8 weeks ago. There's like a group that well, the Isle of Man like lives and dies by Facebook. Like it's because it's such a small place. And so with having the clinics, I'm always in all these Facebook groups being like, oh, you dermatologist? Here, come here. And so I'm in this one and lots of them, it pops up people asking about the meds, but there's one specifically for people on the Isle of Man that take GLP-1s. And there was like a week where it was like golden dose, golden dose, golden, and everyone was asking where to get syringes, and I kept being tagged in it and tagged in it, and I was like,
Mhm.
stop asking me where to get needles from. And eventually they were like, guys, you just stop asking about the golden dose. Or the
Yeah,
group will be deleted.
I interviewed a paramedic from the UK a couple weeks ago, and he was telling me that he can't recommend it just due to what he has, what he does. And he goes, but that might change. And then, like 2 weeks later, he just had a video on his channel how to use the golden dose.
Do I take the golden dose? Yes. But it here there it is a lot easier with like medical supplies and stuff like that. But I'd always, most of the pharmacists and stuff, if you talk to them about it, then they can
Right,
always give like the best advice and like how to do all that stuff. But
right.
yeah, I think
You know,
people
here,
do over exaggerate. Like it's yes,
here
it's
we
like a
have
tiny
plenty of
little.
telehealth for the GLP-1 medications. And whether, some are good, some are just like, for example, I just found out that my brother is taking uh, the Monjaro for weight loss. And I'm like, because he's like a rail. I'm like, are you kidding me? He's like, I could lose 10 pounds. I'm like, I don't really think that's what it's for, but hey, to each their own, I guess it's a gay man's thing. He's like, I got to get rid of that 10 pounds.
Yeah, I do. I think I read an article a couple of weeks ago that was talking about how, in the future that they think that this will just be so much more common because there are just so many other benefits. And I think that they're still doing the trials, but there was talk about doing trials for it specifically for other
Absolutely.
addictions and alcohol and
They're in
gambling
a
and
lot of
stuff.
trials. And I know a lot of people, I personally don't drink, but a lot of people just say alcohol just doesn't taste the same. And my brother, for one, who likes to have like two, 3 drinks a night, he just can't handle more than one on the medication. So, I mean,
Oh.
there is some truth to that.
I guess with the slowing down of, like, stomach emptying, because I know,
Right.
we also ask a lot about, like, if someone's taking narcotics and stuff like that for pain, how it affects and stuff, but I guess, yeah, with the because I don't drink at all either, so it's not ever something that and that is one huge, huge, huge way to save on calories is to not drink alcohol. That was the first
Absolutely.
thing, and I haven't drank in, almost 6 years, and I don't drink not a drop.
Empty calories.
Yeah, oh god.
And they're also doing studies with Alzheimer's. They're saying, you have a 15 to 20% less chance of getting Alzheimer's if you're on a GLP-1.
Oh.
It's helping with polycystic ovaries, a lot of things, liver disease. Uh, and I don't know about there, but the Cardiac Association has just recommended that it be one of the number one choices for preventing heart disease. And if
Oh,
that gets
cool.
approved, the insurance companies aren't going to be able to say no.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
That is. So getting back to your weight loss journey. So have what was your biggest um, non-scale thing that you noticed about taking a GLP-1? Like for me, it was the mental clarity that I had.
Yeah, I have, like, I think that the thing that probably, like, eased because like I was saying before, there were so many things that, you know if I was going somewhere, like having to think all these things through. And one of the big things that I used to get like a lot of anxiety about was travel because like where the Isle of Man is, you know, a tiny island, England, Ireland, and I mean the island is only like 20 or 31 miles by 23. It's very, very small. So our airport only goes to Ireland and to England. So if I want to go to Tampa or wherever, you have to go to England and then go. And so our planes are tiny, 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 tiny. And so the seats are tiny, tiny, tiny. And travel, especially traveling a bit more as I could afford to. And when even this is back, when I was like going to LA to go to the L Word set or something, that when I went on that trip and then when I went for the finale party was like one of the first times that I got on the plane and I felt like, okay, phew, like a lot of relief because I was always just paranoid about, you know, like not being uncomfortable but then also making someone else uncomfortable and there was again like the seats here are tiny and like in the beginning I had to have like one of those seatbelt extenders and stuff like that and I remember the first time that I got on the flight and I didn't have to have the extender thing and so not the next trip then not having to bring that and have that thought and all of that stuff. Yeah, and like even now, sometimes when I travel and I get on the plane and being able to like sit down and just cross my legs, because I mean, I'm gonna send you a picture um, next time I'm on one of the planes, so you can see how tiny it is, and just being able to sit and like cross my legs. Sometimes I'll like take a picture and send it to my sister and be like, "Oh, look, I'm in the seat." So yeah,
So do you
just
take supplements?
I take an iron supplement, like a prescription one, because
Mhm.
I like have pretty low iron from like ever since I started losing weight. And if I don't, I'm a lot better now, but when I was probably lost like the first 150 pounds, there was a period of a couple of weeks where, and I'm someone I sleep like 3 hours a night. Like I don't need a lot of
Mhm.
sleep. And I would be like sitting on my couch at like 4:30, like about to fall asleep. So I do take the iron, and I do take folic acid, and just like a general one too. And with the Isle of Man, I, especially in the winter and stuff, I'll take like vitamin D and B12 because they're in now. I sent a picture to Evelyn last night of out in my garden at 10:30 at night, still daylight. But
Wow.
in the winter, it doesn't get light
I
until
see
like,
Miss G in the background.
of course, she's here. Oh, she's here.
My
Really.
ADD kicked in, sorry.
She's counting down the minutes to her dinner time. So
Ah, I see.
we're in the hour window now, so
Yeah, so like my wife was on a stall and like she's going to get her vitamins and her supplements, and I see her take out like 10 gummies. And like, no wonder why you're not losing weight. Yeah.
not the gummies.
I mean, I think each one's like 15 calories and you got like 10 of them there. Yeah.
Oh, unless the gummies are so for, one gummy could have like 100 times what another one does. But I do think that people, especially people I see in the clinic, they do sometimes over supplement. And I'm like, your body literally
I
can't
used
take
to be
all of this.
guilty of that.
Like, you're making expensive urine. That's what you're doing.
My doctor's like, you're putting somebody's kid through college. You know that, right? Like, but somebody told me it'll help. Like I said, my generation, we took a pill for everything. Yeah, it's like, I guess that's the difference between baby boomers and a millennial. Yeah. We were always taught, trust your doctor, don't do research. Yeah. But fortunately, that's changing. Uh, so what was your biggest win on your entire journey, other than your seat, not wearing your seatbelt extender?
I think just being able to like go back into places like Target or something and being able to just buy stuff
Target, you?
in this. No, I hate it. It's not my obsession or anything. Just being able to go in and like buy something there. And yeah, just a lot of even stuff like sometimes, there's certain things that it just seemed always there'd be something that would pop up. Like, not that I've gone skydiving recently, but there's a weight requirement for that and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
it is just every so often there would be something like that that I'd initially have like, oh my God, the panic. And then I was like, oh no, I'm fine.
So with your Wegovy, are you a tummy person, an arm person, a leg person? Do you rotate your sites?
I normally, probably most of the time, thigh. Sometimes I'll do it in my stomach, but yeah, most of the time I'd say it's in my thigh.
I tried that once. I don't have a lot of fat on my thigh, and it hurt like hell.
Oh, no,
Looked at it, I'm
that's
like,
where I
oh,
hold
shit,
most of
that
my weight.
hurts, man. Back to the tummy for me.
I have like, because obviously I've like lost so much too. My stomach and my thighs is where like I have loose skin, so it's perfect for that.
How are you handling your loose skin?
I was talking to the women who work for me in the clinic today because I saw this woman on Instagram who she she held like a lot of her weight when she was heavier, similar to me, and she had loose skin and a little bit of lymphedema in her legs. She had it more in her calf. I have a little bit in my thighs, and she had got all her loose skin in her arm done. And then she had got a lymphedema surgery on her thighs and her calves. And then I saw another woman on Instagram too, who she had got um, the 360 lift, like but it
Hmm.
was she had the incision like completely like up like that, and seeing the before because they were Instagram reels, and it was that they looked very, very similar to me. Like, obviously I have it in my arms, but my arms aren't terrible, terrible. My worst loose skin is in my stomach and my thighs. And I have always said I have probably another 25 pounds that I want to lose. And when I do that, I want to get a reduction in the lift, like breast lift. And I am pretty set that I'm going to get that. The only thing
Uh-huh.
that puts me off I would get first, like a 360 stomach, is that people that I know that have had it done too, it is a very big surgery and it's like a month of recovery. And one, I'd have to like get like a nurse or someone to, because Miss G,
Of course.
Miss G has too much to do. She couldn't be helping me. And I don't know how I would cope with not being able to work or like do stuff for a month. I know you can like still do like work on the couch and stuff like that, but it is a
Yeah, it's not the
really
same.
big surgery. And yeah, I don't know, but their results were amazing. And obviously it's like very expensive too. So I
Yeah,
do go back and forth.
I've tried stuff like cool sculpting and red light, and did it help? It didn't hurt. Yeah, I can't really say if it helped. I'm just probably gonna have to suck it up and eventually get the surgery.
Yeah,
What
like
can you do?
I actually probably about 12 years ago when when I was working in a clinic and I used to do like Botox and draw blood and do everything. I did actually train to do cool sculpting, and I did it on like a few test patients, and then I said to the person who owned the clinic, I was like, I don't want to do this because I just don't think that it's for a very, very, very small amount of people. And I mean, people that are absolutely fit as anything. And like maybe they've had 3 kids and they have the tiniest, tiniest, tiniest little thing. I personally think that it is just it's so expensive. And
Mhm.
I just don't see the results that unless literally like there is a one in a very few amount of people that it seems to.
And I did like 14 sessions of it,
Oh my
and they
gosh.
sent me the before and after picture, and I actually had to text them and say, okay, which is the before and
Oh
which
my,
is the after.
14 too. Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
And I actually have one left, but the last time that they did it, like, usually for a couple of hours, your skin is like pretty numb from being frozen.
Mm.
And that lasted like almost 4 weeks the last time. I'm like,
Oh my
I don't know
god.
if, that didn't happen before. I'm like, I don't know if I want to take that chance anymore. Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. The person that when I was like training to do it, I actually used to live with her. One of my we worked together and lived together, and she's a dentist, and she was like not heavy or anything like that, and she was like, oh, do it on me. It's like a test, and I did it on her stomach, and we did it, finished up at the clinic. We lived right next to the clinic. We walked like 5 minutes home and walked in the house, and she's like, oh my god, I'm gonna be sick, and she threw up afterwards.
Wow.
I know some people it's like that flood of like when after the freezing and like the just the way your body reacts sometimes. But I know that there's a few people that like it, but I yeah, it's not something I think is.
I guess I'm a human guinea pig. I'll try anything. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know
you don't need rats. You got me.
But I mean, some people say they're like, oh, they are thinking about losing weight and they'll say stuff about loose skin. And I'm like, I would take the loose skin
Yes.
10 times over the weight. Like it's not even, there's no comparison to make, like absolutely no comparison.
So how many times have you had to change your wardrobe?
Well, I normally like it's over like time, But so I don't realize like how drastic it is sometimes, but I was doing like a clearing out a couple of weeks ago and I found like a zip up sweatshirt from like when I was at my heaviest and I put it on and I was like, oh my god, it's like a dress on me. But I do still like a lot of stuff. And now, if I was at my goal weight now, I absolutely would get like a lot of
Mhm.
new stuff. But because I want to still lose like probably another 25, I once I lose that, I will probably do like a massive overhaul because yeah, there's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
that's very loose.
I know when I lost 40 pounds, I'm like, why isn't anybody noticing? And then I realized my clothes were gigantic. So it wasn't until I changed my clothes that people actually started to notice. And then I actually took a note from you about, oh, when I lose a certain amount of weight, why not start a YouTube channel and tell people about
Yeah.
this? So
I love it.
that's one of the reasons why this YouTube channel got going. So everybody could thank Ash.
Oh, I
She's
love
she's
it.
part of it.
Oh, that's so
Uh,
nice.
any closing remarks about your weight loss journey? I don't want to keep you
No,
all day.
I just think that, if most people my biggest thing that I changed to even get going, even like before, somebody can't afford the medication or something like that, or they're having to wait, that I always used to be someone that was like, oh, on Monday or on the first of the month, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna, blah 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 blah, like all the plans. And then Monday would come and I would do good and maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I would be so extreme that I'd be like, oh, I'm only eat 1,200 calories and that's fine now, but I've been doing this for so long. But at
Mhm.
that stage, when I was eating thousands and thousands of calories, it was such an extreme thing that then by Thursday, I was like, oh, fuck this. And I would go off the rails. And then I'd be like, oh, well, I've already broken it today. So I'll wait till next Monday and it would just turn into this like cycle of so now if I go out with my friends to have dinner once or twice a month, or even if I do, when I went to Universal with my cousins and stuff, I don't really drink anything with calories except milk, but when I was there I got like a Coke and stuff and that's like a treat and things, but I never make rules of like apart from alcohol, I'm like, I'm never gonna have this again or I'm never gonna eat this again.
Right.
And it's just like, no, just figure out a way to do it. And if you do go off the rails or you have a bad day or something, just be like, okay, move
Give
on. Like,
yourself grace.
yeah, the next day, just get right back on it. It's those, oh, I'll wait till next Monday or I'll wait till the first, and then
Mhm.
you just dig yourself in even more of a hole then.
Right.
So it's like even if you can make the small, like when I started, I literally cut out alcohol, then cut out soda, cut out juice. Like those little changes, especially if you
Mhm.
have like a lot of weight to lose, you will be surprised how big of a difference it makes. And so many people also have this thing of like, oh, I need to work out like a demon and stuff. I did not do anything until I had lost like 200 pounds. Like all those 200 pounds, I didn't go to the gym, I didn't do anything. And it was just diet. And diet is the most, because some people try and
Right.
outrun a bad diet, which you can't
You,
do.
you,
Weight
you
loss
can't.
happens in the kitchen, fitness happens in the gym. So those are like my little little sayings and stuff that I think the most important thing is to start anyway.
Start.
Cut
Absolutely.
one
Find a
thing.
way. If you have to give up Starbucks once in a while to get the money, it's worth it.
Yeah.
At least try it for a month, see how it is. That's what I always tell people. Be prepared. It's a lifestyle. No food should be off limits. Just, give yourself some grace. And, it's a lifestyle. You have to change everything.
Because once you see the results, then that spurs you on. So even if you can, cut out soda and snacks and stuff like I don't snack at all. Then if you can do that for 2 weeks, usually you will then see results and make sure like you weigh yourself and everything as well and take pictures and stuff
Right.
because you need to be able to to see like, oh, this is working. And usually after that, after you see, oh my God, I've lost 8 pounds in 2 weeks by cutting out, chocolate and soda, just those two things,
Mhm.
you'll be amazed, and that will spur you on, and even like trying
Absolutely.
the GLP-1 and stuff, like you'll be amazed.
So do you have a goal weight in mind or just you'll know when you get there?
Yeah, I have. I think about another 25 pounds, because obviously like a bit of my like loose skin and stuff is always like, I can't really do anything about that
Right.
until unless I was able to do something surgery wise. So I think another 25 would be like 150.
I
And
think the
then
Mounjaro is gonna help you with that, my personal opinion.
yeah, I think I have 2 weeks left of my pen, and then I think they make you have like a window of 4 weeks of
Mm,
between. So I will I'll definitely let you know when I start the
perfect.
Manjaro.
Well, I wanna thank you, Ash. It's so kind of you to do this and take time out of I know you're a busy person. Appreciate it, and hi to Miss G over there. Give her a pet and a kiss for me, and thank you. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you as always. We go back a long time, and as I always say to you, I really owe you a lot for all your support and stuff like that, because
It's
the
my
channel
pleasure.
would not be here without it. And yeah, Miss G, of course, sends love to you and Haley, and your lovely wife too. So thank
Okay,
you.
with that, I'm gonna end this recording.